in the spirit of being efficient, I'm going to try and keep my momentum up here for this entrance ramp. Well guys, it's been a week with the 2026 Toyota Camry SE Nightshade, and it's been a long day for me as well. As you guys can see, I have my Forza Horizon wristband on because I've been with the Topher doing a rallycross in our long-termer Hyundai Ioniq 5 XRT, but I had to make time tonight to go out for one last drive in this Camry SE Nightshade because a lot of you love the Camry, myself included, and I posted my first video on this car the day that this is being filmed. There were some questions in the comments section. Most of you were just agreeing with me that this is a lovely automobile, but I thought, why don't we take this Camry on one last drive and enjoy this beautiful, warm Michigan night and appreciate it just a little bit more. I told you guys that I think that the automotive market in 2026 in the US needs to have more sedans. There aren't many of these. There's this, the Accord, the Sonata, the K5. Volkswagen killed the Passat. I was going to say that, but that doesn't exist anymore. Does the Nissan Altima exist? I don't really know. But as far as like overall quality, I think the Camry has them all beat. And this one, as I told you, is the SE Nightshade. It slots right about in the middle, or it is right smack dab in the middle of the trims. Starts just under $33,000. This one, as spec'd with all of its dealer accessories and things, I was actually wrong in my initial video. I said that it was $36,000. It's actually $38,000 because it has a lot of, in my opinion, kind of unnecessary dealer accessories. It's kind of the Toyota way. When they put cars in the press fleet, they just put lots of extra stuff on them to show off, I guess, which makes sense because they have a lot of accessories to offer, including these little front accent lights, which I thought were standard, but you got to pay extra for these. But I think they look quite nice, a little extra DRL on the front, and it kind of adds to the overall night presence of this car, which I'm excited to show you today as well. A couple of comments that stood out to me. A lot of you noticed this passenger fender. You said it didn't match, and honestly, I noticed this too, but I didn't say anything about it because I thought I was going nuts. But you all validated that no, this fender is totally a different color than the rest of the car. Now, if I had to guess, I would say this car probably had a bit of an incident with one of its prior loans, and maybe they quickly slapped a new fender on it, just kind of spray painted it and put it on. Spray painted it sounds like they did it in a garage. I'm sure that, you know, they painted the fender and put it on properly, but that could be why it doesn't match. I don't think this is how this car would have come from the factory, but I would have no way of knowing. That is just my best guess for this car. And a lot of you are asking me what I think about this compared to the Honda Accord, and I want to save that for when we're actually driving and things. And for the walkaround, which we're already a little bit of a ways into, I want to talk about the lighting situation on this car because it is sort of refreshingly simple, kind of like the rest of this car. You know, we talked about all the physical controls in this thing and just kind of the overall refreshing nature of this car in general. I'm going to stick the hazards on so you guys can see that we just have regular bulbs in this thing. So if you have a turn signal go out, it's just as simple as popping a new bulb in it. You don't have to replace the entire taillight. You know, Toyota thinks about these things. They think about the fact that a lot of Camrys are on the road for 300,000, 400,000, 500,000 miles, and they have to make parts replaceable. You see this even on the front, the turn signals are regular bulbs. Now, you could argue and say that this cheapens it a bit, but I think it just makes it so it can last even longer. HID or whatever LED headlights, visibility has seemed to be pretty nice with those this week. And then we have these little blinkers here on the mirrors as well, which I think kind of elevate this whole thing and make it look a bit higher end. Got to show you one other illuminated dealer accessory. If I remember, the trunk release between the R and the Y. Illuminated trunk sill, which is just these little guys here. So that's kind of neat. And then we have this little rear bumper applique as well. It's like $60 or something to add that on. We've got some lights here in the trunk, or sorry, and light, just one light. Also, people confused about my and references, which is just an old school Top Gear Jeremy Clarkson thing, but some people don't understand that. So I apologize if you are not cultured and you've never seen Top Gear. I'm very sad for you. Under the trunk floor, we know that we have a spare, a compact spare, because Toyota generally does not mess around with this sort of thing. They always have spares in their cars. One thing I would love to add After this week, I have used the trunk a couple of times. Give us a handle. Give me something to close this with because I have to touch the dirty trunk. And I don't particularly want to do so for the sake of my hand and the sake of the paint that has dust on it. Overall, my thoughts have stayed pretty much the same with this Camry. There are a couple of things inside that I want to address, but from the outside, thoughts have stayed the same. I love the 9th generation styling. I think it looks just about right. You know, they haven't strayed too far from the 8th gen. They've stayed familiar, and I think that's important. Toyota kind of always does this sort of thing. They take a little bit longer to evolve things, and I think that's okay because it means that things stay reliable. Now, as far as mechanics go in this car, what's under the hood? Well, you guys probably already know all of these 9th gen Camrys have the Gen 5 Toyota hybrid system. So this has a naturally aspirated 2.5 liter 4-cylinder connected to an eCVT. This one is front-wheel drive. It makes 225 horsepower. The Toyota will also sell you an all-wheel drive version of this with like 7 more horsepower. All they do is add another electric motor in the back. It's like 40 horsepower, but once all is said and done, I think it's 232 horsepower you get in the all-wheel drive car. Price isn't that big of a difference, and you're able to option all-wheel drive on any trim of the Camry. So even a $29,000 LE, you can make all-wheel drive, which I think is super cool. Makes this accessible to people that live in Michigan or other places where it snows. If you really want to have all-wheel drive, you are able to do that. This one's on a pretty big wheel, which is a little bit big for my taste as far as like a daily driver car goes. This is a 19, it's a squared setup, and I don't know, it diminishes the MPG a bit. And I think if I was going to go for these, I would go for an LE, or I would just buy the SE and I would put a smaller wheel on it for, you know, MPG and pothole reasons since I live in Michigan. But MPG overall this week has been pretty good. I've been seeing pretty steady numbers from the first video that we already discussed. This is rated at 46 MPG combined, 47 in the city, 45 on the highway. I'm going to kill these hazards here. But that seems to be pretty accurate. You know, I've been seeing on my readout there, 48.8 is what I'm currently averaging, and I think we're going to reset that once we're up there just out of curiosity for our drive tonight. Little map lights here in the back. I mean, we have this soft text material. This is not real leather, but it's trimmed out nicely. White stitching, white details here on the seats, a little bit of cloth on the uppers, and then you have this fold-down armrest with some cup holders. Back seat room is really good. Camrys are used all over the place as Ubers, Lyfts, taxis in New York City, you know, all that stuff. So the back seat is actually a super important place in the Camry, and happy to report that for Gen 9, it is still adequate. I fit perfectly fine back here, and I don't think it's too much. You know, that's kind of, it's kind of the message of this car is that you should not live in excess. You know, this car is everything you need and nothing that you don't. And that is why I love it so much. I spent the other half of my week in the new Cadillac Escalade, which is just the whole point of that car is excess. So it's been refreshing to be back in this for the day and excited to take you all out for one last drive in it. But let's go ahead and jump in here as the lights come on, the sun goes down. So one new impression I have on this car is that I think the seating position is a bit high. And someone actually commented on this. This also made me feel validated. I love when you guys comment things that I notice after I film the video and I'm like, oh, maybe I should have put that in. I don't know. And then someone comments it and I'm like, yes, okay, I was correct on that. Seating position's a little high at 5'11". I've got about that much room from the top of my head to the ceiling of the car. This one does have the optional moonroof, so I don't know, you may lose a little bit of headroom here with this car, but you don't have to option that on. As far as the other accommodations in this interior, it's a pretty nice, overall, well thought out package. And this was kind of my overall summary of my initial review, is that everything in here is so easy to use. I mentioned that my mom has a 70-something-year-old friend that just bought one of these in XSE trim, actually. I saw her yesterday randomly at a retirement party for one of my mom's other friends, and she could not stop telling me how much she loves her 2026 Camry XSE, and it just kind of validated that legitimately anybody can get in this car and have no problem figuring out how to use any of the controls. You've got a standalone climate control panel, you've got a volume knob, wireless Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, very easy and familiar, just like your phone. You've got the 7-inch gauge cluster in this, which I like because it has constant fuel and temperature gauges on the outside. Steering wheel has physical buttons, and then when you go over here, Will Long, this is for you, I know you're watching, physical dimmer switch. And I like to keep this on this kind of low to mid setting, and it's just the best. All right, let's get this thing out of the parking lot. This doesn't have any sort of automatic parking for me to demonstrate. In fact, this doesn't even have a 360 camera, which is something that I would maybe like to see for my almost 40 grand. You know, I think the Camry is good value overall, but there are just a couple things that the Koreans do sort of out-tech them on, and putting 360 cameras in just about everything is one of those places. We were driving the Kia K4 turbo hatchback thing a couple of months ago, and the amount of tech you got in that for like the $30,000 price tag was pretty impressive. Now, I know Toyota trumps Kia and Hyundai in lots of reliability ways. You wouldn't really have to worry about going through an engine in this car like maybe you would in a Korean competitor. But I don't know, just something that I would like to see in the future. More 360 cameras. All right, I'm actually going to reset our MPG here because I want to see how good of a job we can do sort of I don't know, hypermiling is probably not the right word. Someone's going to call me out and say, no, you're not hypermiling. But I'm going to try to drive very efficiently here to downtown Ann Arbor, Michigan. And we're going to see how we do. And we're going to start by EV mode is unavailable. It's because I let this thing sit and be on for my walk around. So we're already off to a bad start for being efficient, but I wanted to be able to show you guys the headlights. Okay, now the engine is shut off. Can I lock this into EV mode? I can. So you have a physical button down here below the shifter that allows you to lock this into EV mode up to what seems to be between 25 and 30 miles an hour. And it does aid you in being efficient. I think my best score this week was 54 mpg on a 10-mile trip. I was trying super hard to achieve that number, but it's just so impressively efficient, this car. Really everything about it. And oftentimes I like to joke and say that Camrys are boring cars to review because there's just really nothing here that's going to blow your head off. But that's the point of a Camry. It's supposed to just be a car. And I think the Camry does one of the best acts of a car, one of the best performances of a car in 2026 in the new car market. It just does everything right. And a lot of that lies within the inputs in this. You know, Toyota, I always say this, you guys are probably so sick of hearing me say this by now, but I feel like Toyota kind of wrote the book on hybrids, and it means that all of the inputs in this car are just spot on. The throttle response, you've got that nice torque, which who knows how much torque this actually has because Toyota never talks about it. They never give a torque number for their hybrids, but if I had to guess, I'd say somewhere in the mid 200s. But the throttle response is very sort of silky. You have this nice feel through the accelerator pedal. There's no empty space. That's kind of what I'm trying to say here, is that it leaves really nothing to be desired. You always know exactly what your right foot is doing in this thing. And that applies to when it moves over to the brake pedal as well. No weird hybrid squish. And you are actually able to get your limo stops in with this very smoothly, which is important for cars that are predominantly used as taxis. So, you know, all this stuff, very, very important to have dialed in, and they just do it so well. All right, we're gonna get this merged onto the highway. I'm just gonna leave this in normal mode. I don't really think there's any point in going into sport, especially since we're trying to be efficient. But in the spirit of being efficient, I'm gonna try and keep my momentum up here for this entrance ramp. That way, we don't have to floor it to merge. We can use this entire merge lane. And there we are, 70 miles an hour up to highway speed. And we can press this physical button for our cruise control, and off we go. Obviously, the dealer accessory dash cam was activated because the smallest movements activate it, including pulling out of the driveway in the morning. Sets the dash cam off. So probably an accessory I wouldn't select. You know, just put your own dash cam in here. But if you're really big on having a dash cam, you just want one to come from the dealer, well, there you go. It's an option. Really going to need to have emphasis on this city section of the drive if we want to have good MPGs, because we're only sitting at 25.6 right now, 26.6. Not the best. Okay, here's the next thing I love about the Camry and what I've loved about driving it this week, and that is how dang comfortable this car is. And this goes from the seat to the ride quality to the visibility out of this car. It's all lovely. And the SE, okay, which is what the Nightshade is based upon, this car. The SE has sport-tuned suspension and a larger front sway bar. So understandably, you may think that the ride in this might be a bit stiff. And admittedly, I haven't driven an LE or an XLE, so I don't know if that's like significantly more comfortable, but this one, for what it is fantastic. Even on the 19-inch wheels, you really don't feel like you're sacrificing anything with the sport-tuned suspension. This is the other reason Camrys are boring to review, because you just praise them the entire time because they're just so good. I'm like trying to find things. Oh, the seating position's a little bit too high. But in the grand scheme of things, it's like this car is just so good that it's so hard to come up with little things that you don't like about it. And the fact that we're able to say all of this about kind of a mid-size sedan in 2026 is really important, because these cars need to make a comeback. I don't think manufacturers realize how much people want these cars. And when I say manufacturers, I mean the American ones that gave up on this segment. Ford with the Fusion, Chevy with the Malibu, Chrysler with whatever they were making. What was it, the Avenger? That was terrible, but you know, they could come up with something a bit better. I think Mexico actually has a car that fits in this segment for Dodge. Anyway, getting off topic. Trying to stay as efficient as possible here. We have broken into the 30s, 33.6. It's always fun for me to kind of play this game when I have hybrids. I always try to be as efficient as possible. Makes me cringe when I have to give this power, but we have no choice because we have to merge safely. You know, even with this seating position being a bit high, I do think it aids in the way of visibility. Also, touching on ergonomics one more time, elbow comfiness is really good. You've got these soft surfaces that aren't leather wrapped, but they are kind of a squishy rubber, soft plastic material, so that's okay. And then the vent placement, it's taken me all week to get these dialed in, but I finally have them in the perfect position where they're actually currently freezing my hands off and my face. I need to turn this up a bit. I've got this on the lowest vent setting. I might actually switch this to split it between my feet and my face. HVAC though in this car, chef's kiss, very good. No complaints. And even NVH. You know, people kind of like to get on these sedans for being too loud on the highway, but geez, I mean, for having a $32,000 starting MSRP, I don't think I'm complaining about this NVH level here on the highway. To use these downhill sections to take advantage of EV mode, boost up our MPGs a bit. So, van driving along without their lights on. Wait for it, there it is. Luckily, the Camry here has automatic headlights. That is very good, very useful feature. And they seem to be good automatic headlights too. They came on at dusk today, which is usually when you want headlights to come on. interior map lights, also quite bright. I think these are an LED. I'm just using them to thumbnail farm currently, but overall quite good. Transitions from EV to internal combustion are just seamless. I mean, even audibly, you don't really notice. I've been watching the little EV indicator here on our 7-inch cluster to see when this is in electric mode, because it is sometimes that hard to distinguish. Some of the other Toyota hybrids, they're a little bit loud, a little bit buzzy, and this one is if you're full throttle, but just driving it around town, I mean, you really don't notice this engine. It kind of exists in the background pretty well. And this will lead us into talking about the Accord, because it's a comment I've gotten a few times on the video that went up today. Do I prefer this over the Accord? And I think after this week of driving this car, yes, I do. Now, there are things I like better about the Accord. I think the Accord, some of the materials feel a little bit better in the interior. The button clicks are a little bit nicer. But as an overall package, I do still think I prefer the Camry. We road tripped the latest gen Accord out to Wisconsin last year, and we had a couple problems with the infotainment. It was a little bit slow, a little bit laggy, and the adaptive cruise system wasn't super great. You know, there were just a couple little things that we weren't super pleased with. And I haven't had any of this in the Camry. Now, granted, I haven't road tripped this somewhere, so I haven't spent quite as much time in the Camry as I have the Accord. But under the impressions that I've been able to gather this week, I think the Camry would be my choice. So there you go. If you want to know Camry versus Accord, now I think either one is great. Like, I don't think you can go wrong if you're choosing between them. But I would still go Camry. The only other advantage I think the Accord has is the engine's a little bit quieter, and the 2-motor hybrid system is just cool in that, you know, the fact that it like technically doesn't have a transmission, just kind of a cool little thing to nerd out about if you even care about that sort of thing. You know, I'm a huge advocate for like going for a drive to clear your head, and this Camry is kind of proof that you don't need something necessarily special or raw, like some insane sports car, to go out and have a really nice drive. Now, obviously that helps some people, but just driving this Camry right now is really helping me relax for the week. Like, this is being filmed on a Sunday, and boy, have I had a week, and this is just a really nice car to go out and relax in. It's sort of healing me right now, and I really appreciate it for that. No ambient lighting in this car. We've got some lights here to illuminate your wireless charging area. The indicator for your shifter is blue. That stands out a bit more at night. We're behind a fellow Camry, a Gen 7, I think that is. There have just been so many Camrys. Forgetting that I'm trying to be efficient. Ooh, these are high beams. Those are high beams. Oh boy. Noticed a lot of people lately driving with high beams on. I don't know what it is. I don't know what's in the air lately, but it's a lot. It's like, seems like 1 in every 30 or 40 cars has their high beams on, which doesn't sound like a lot, but in a drive, it's a lot. We're in a bit of an uphill section. We're probably going to have to cut into this 2.5. There it is. Only so much you can do while not being a nuisance to the rest of society, because you could really stretch this out and like ride the EV mode, but then you're just going like 12 miles an hour and everyone behind you is irritated. All right, now is the time when you would lock this into EV mode, because I don't think for the rest of this drive we're going to be exceeding 25 miles an hour. So we're going to try and creep around this city here in electric mode only. And we'll see what effect this has on our overall fuel economy for this trip. love the steering in this Camry. It has a nice medium lightness to it. And the quickness of the rack, you know, it's not the quickest in the world, but I don't really think a Camry has to blow your mind in the handling department either. You know, a lot of these magazine companies get on these mid-size sedans for needing to have razor sharp handling, and they just don't need to. You know, this is not a GR Camry. It just has to be a car that gets you around comfortably, and I think it handles even better than it needs to in a lot of aspects. So since this isn't an XSE or an XLE, it has the base sound system. So only 6 speakers here in this Camry. The upgraded JBL system would get you 9, and an option package on the XSE or the XLE, so it doesn't even come standard in those. We have not yet done this song. There's another person with their high beams on. Behind a cyclist. I'm sure that person appreciates that. But, all right, this is not the song we used in the main review, so we'll give you another taste of this if you've already watched the other video. This might be a wild take, but this is one of, if not the best, like bass sound system I've ever heard in a car. Like, it's 6 speakers, and they're somehow able to like simulate the power in this. Obviously, you don't like feel the power in your seat like you would if you had a proper subwoofer in this, but man, do they get the most out of these 6 speakers. I'm super impressed with this sound system. And you know, it's one of those things I always worry about when I'm in a car with a bass system. I think I'm just going to be riding around in a penalty box all week as far as sound systems go, but this is fine. I've been able to listen to all my music in this week. It's just good stuff. I think a car like this that starts under $30,000 should not feel like a penalty box, and this one doesn't. It feels like a genuinely really nice car. Like, sure, here, we'll turn these map lights back on so you can see what I'm on about a bit more. There are some questionable materials in here, like this cloth on the dashboard. I think that's completely wrong. But pretty much everything you touch is nice. You've got a leather-wrapped steering wheel in here with white stitching. We talked about the seats earlier. Those are pretty nice. Your elbow surfaces here are pretty soft. The top of the shifter is a nice soft material. This is all nice. So I think where it matters most, like, you don't feel like you've cheaped out, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Like, you're not reminded every day that you didn't go for a Lexus ES or something like that to go for a higher end option. The Camry still feels nice. I think I would have one of these, to be honest. I think as far as like the cheaper segment of cars go, like a Civic versus Corolla, I'd go Civic all day. But when you step one up, Toyota gets it, man. Toyota just has this down. And that's it. That's my take on the 2026 9th generation Toyota Camry SE Nightshade. Obviously, I have a full review on this car, and we will link that in the description for you guys. I hope I remember. Sometimes I say that and I forget to put a link. But if I do for some reason forget to put the link, it is very easily findable on my page. But anyway, go check that video out if you want to learn more about this. Obviously, that video will have a bit more detail than this one, because usually these night drives, you know, they're just kind of a sum up, some final thoughts, and that's kind of all they are. Today is Sunday, which means this will be free.
Please proceed into the lot.
You've got auto up-down windows on all 4 corners. That's a nice luxury feature as well. We have successfully stayed in EV mode for this entire city section. That is pretty cool. Toyota hybrids, man, I'm telling you. It's another Camry, 8th gen. They're just everywhere. I mean, so many people rely on Toyota Camrys. So another one, there's a 9th gen, just like us. Ooh, and a Truedo inspired Subaru BRZ. I love car spotting when I'm down here. That's an XLE, top luxury trim. Alrighty guys, well, I think we need to say it one last time. The Toyota Camry is still everything you need and nothing that you don't, and it just does such a good job at being a car. Oh, we got beeps. EV mode, deactivated, hybrid, battery low. Ooh, Miata. But we're still in EV mode. It's probably going to kick us out here any second, but final, there it goes. The engine came back on. Final MPG figure 46.2. Look at that. We did the combined rating, which is 46. You can't argue with that. 46.0 as we end our video here today. How about that? Exactly the combined rating for the Camry. So, all right, I'm going to leave this running because I want to show you guys the lights one last time on this. But that is going to be it. Just such a good thing. And looking good as well in supersonic red with all these black accents here on the nightshade pack, which we talk more about this in the full review, so you can go check that out if you would like. Linked down in the description, I hope. But this is it. We bid farewell to another Camry, and I am excited to try some other trims, so maybe we'll see if we can get some of those. So far, happy with the couple of configurations that I've driven, and I really don't think you can go wrong. No matter what trim you get, it will be good and reasonably priced. So, cool. All right, well, that's going to wrap it up. Thank you guys all so much for watching. If you have any questions still after watching both videos, please let me know. Please ask. But thank you again all so much for watching, and we will see you in the next one. Take care and good night.